Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome to a Saturday edition of Inside Arsenal. I hope you're all well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. You are having a very good start to the weekend, and you should be, because what better way to kick off the weekend than Arsenal about to snap up their club at record signing? £105 million Declan Rice is at Arsenal right now as I'm recording this video. He's at London Colney, putting the finishing touches on his move. West Ham have already announced this morning that he is leaving in a message that does not include a single message about it. Arsenal. Declan Rice himself has now sort of said his goodbyes. He said this about just before 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. He posted on Instagram that he was leaving, saying his goodbyes. He said, I've had some unbelievable highs, none higher than that night in Prague. I've grown a lot as a person, a player, and as a captain. He says, my connection with the fans means everything to me, and my family have treated us like one of your own since the day I arrived. Thank you. Everyone knows how special West Ham is as a club. That goes for all the managers, coaches, backroom staff, and of course, my teammates. Thank you for some amazing memories and some of the best days of my life. Love you all. Love, Dec. Now, that was the first thing that happened this morning. He did that just before 8 a.m. And then West Ham released their own statement just after that at 8 p.m, confirming that agreement has been reached for Declan Rice to leave the club for a British record transfer fee. They went on longer statement. If you're watching this on YouTube, that you can see there on the screen, it went on and on and on, and not one single message with Arsenal. Whether that's because they're a little bit bitter about the whole thing or just because Arsenal themselves haven't announced it yet, I'm not sure. But Declan Rice also, with this open letter he then put on the website. So it was always going to be like this. I've been saying it during the week that it's more than just an announcement. You know, there was the whole West Ham thing had to be factored into it. This was a big thing for Declan Rice, you know, leaving the club that he'd grown up as a boy. He wanted to do this whole emotional, the video, the statements, all that sort of stuff needed to be done and prepared and to go out with West Ham, and then the Arsenal thing would follow a little bit later on. Now, at the time of recording this, it is 10:27 on Saturday morning, and Arsenal have yet to announce the signing of Declan Rice, but he is there right now at the time of recording. He is at London Colney. I believe he spent time at the club yesterday as well, putting all the finishing touches, doing all his media duties, having returned from his holiday on Friday. He's finishing off those media duties now, putting the finishing touches on, and I'm expecting it to be announced at some point. By the time you're even watching this or listening to this, it might well have already been announced. But Arsenal are heading over to the United States tomorrow. The priority was to always get Declan Rice and Jurien Timber, who we will get to in a minute in this episode, announced and confirmed before they boarded that flight, so they could all go on the US tour with the club, and that is going to happen. I'm not sure if Arsenal will announce Declan Rice today. I presume they will. The plan is, I think, that they will, but whether it runs on till tomorrow, I don't know. But the fact that West Ham have now taken this step, and Declan Rice himself has taken the step of releasing all the statements, you know, all the worrying, the frustration of this not being announced, you can just calm it down a little bit and you can enjoy your weekend, because Declan Rice is going to be an Arsenal player, or by the time you're even watching or listening to this, Declan Rice is an Arsenal player. And like I said, he is at London Colney right at the time of me recording this, and it is a very exciting development. I've had my say on this signing. I think he's going to be absolutely massive for this football club, for the next step in the evolution under Mikel Arteta. What this signing says in terms of where Arsenal are as a club, in terms of the direction that they're traveling, it just says so much. It's huge. I can't really understate how excited I am about this sign. I've had lots of messages from people saying he's overpriced. It's just because he's English, he's getting all this hype. He's not that good. I'm sorry, I disagree massively. I think Declan Rice is as good a signing as Arsenal could have made this summer. I think he takes them to the next level. I think the most exciting thing about it all is that he has got an awful lot more to get out of him than we've seen so far. Everyone that I've mentioned this before, everyone you talk to who's seen a lot of Declan Rice, who have worked with Declan Rice, every season he adds more and more to this game. He just has this ability to absorb information and to improve and to add extra facets to his game. And now he's going to work under a manager who is an absolute genius at getting more out of players than we've seen before. And I think that is such an exciting combination. Mikel Arteta and Declan Rice. I think we're going to see Declan Rice go up so many levels, and he's going to become an absolute superstar at Arsenal. I'm convinced of it. I really am. I think it's such an exciting signing, and I cannot wait to see him in an Arsenal shirt playing in this Arsenal team under Mikel Arteta. I think he's just going to get better and better, and I think he's going to raise the level of the team to a level that we have not seen yet. So, as you can tell, I'm very excited. But let me know what you guys think about where we are now with Declan Rice. Again, at the time of listening, I don't know when you're listening or watching this, it could well have been done by now. We might well have already seen him in an Arsenal shirt and seen what he's had to say, seen what Mikel Arteta's had to say. And I can't wait to see that myself. So yeah, really excited. Let me know what you think in the comments below if you are watching this on YouTube. Okay, and this just adds to what has been a fabulous 24 hours for Arsenal. Jurien Timber finally announced as an Arsenal player on Friday, 3 p.m. Friday. I've been waiting for it all week, and it happens just as I leave my house and go on the school run to pick up my kids on a Friday. Brilliant time in Arsenal. Thank you very much. I'd planned to do a big live on YouTube, reacting to the signing, getting you guys all involved, all having a discussion on what's been said, what Edu had said, what Arteta had said, what Timber had said, getting you all involved. And of course, they announced it at 3 p.m. on Friday. Thank you very much, Arsenal, putting my best laid plans out of the window. But what can you do? But yeah, fantastic that it's signed. Another really exciting addition. If you haven't seen yet or watched yet or listened to yet, my special with Yap Stam, discussing Jurien Timber and what he's going to bring to Arsenal, his strengths, his weaknesses, his character, all of that. I did tweet it out again yesterday. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can find it. It's probably about 6 days ago or something. Just have a look back through my old videos and you'll see the Jurien Timber special where Yap talks really well about the sort of player that Arsenal have signed in Jurien Timber. There's a lot of excitement about it. Just 22, 38 million pounds. Comes with a lot of experience despite being young, such versatility in the squad. Another really exciting addition. Edu was speaking about it yesterday in the statement. Says we are very happy to bring Jurien to Arsenal. He is a player that we have admired for a long time. So it's a credit to everyone in our team that has made this happen. Jurien is a young, talented international player who fits our vision of competing with a young, strong squad. I know Jurien cannot wait to get started, and we're really hoping that he will be a great success here for many years. Mikel Arteta then speaking says, we're really excited that Jurien has joined us. He's a versatile young defender who will fit into our system, provide our squad with so much added quality. Jurien is a young player, but has already achieved so much. He has experienced what it's like to go to a major international tournament on more than one occasion, as well as the trophies he has won with Ajax. We look forward to welcoming and integrating Jurien into the squad. So lovely comments there from both Edu and Mikel. Jurien Timber was speaking as well, revealed his deep-rooted love as an Arsenal fan as well, which is good. There are videos doing around of him when he was a youngster at Ajax coming through, and he was saying, what club do you want to play for in the future? He said Arsenal. He explained that in yesterday's statement, said it comes from his brothers who are all Arsenal fans. He named Robin van Persie and Thierry Henry as his favourite two Arsenal players of all time. He spoke about the versatility that he'll bring, said he can play right back, centre back, midfield as well. And that was such a key area for Arsenal. It's why they pushed so hard to sign Timber. He ticks all the boxes in terms of what they want to do in the transfer market. You look at his age, 22. It's the ideal age for a Mikel Arteta stroke Edu signing. That versatility that I spoke about, that he can play in different positions, that's so key to what Arsenal are trying to do now in the transfer market. It's going to bring so much added strength and options to Mikel. He can go Ben White if he wants at right back, or he can change things tactically and go with Timber, which will give you more of an inverted type role. And it just makes Arsenal a lot less predictable. It's a really exciting signing. And the three of them, when you put them together, Havertz, Rice, and Timber, I just think all three of those, they just really point to the next evolution in where Arteta is going to take this team. And it might be a little bit of a tweak to the system. In fact, I think it will be a tweak to the system. I think we'll probably see a different Arsenal team and the way they play. I think all three of those, when you look at them, they're a bit different to the players they're potentially coming into. I don't want to say replace, because I don't think Timber's going to replace Ben White. I think he's just going to give Arteta another option. But certainly if you look at that Arsenal team compared to last year's starting 11, if you're starting with Timber at right back over White, if you're starting with Rice as 6 instead of Partey, and if you're starting with Havertz as the 8 instead of Xhaka, and all three of their real qualities, I think that's a very different team and a different setup to the team we saw last season, because all their qualities are different to the players they're potentially replacing. And that just makes Arsenal a more unpredictable team, I think, as well. They're going to you're going to look at the starting 11 each game, and I don't think you could name it next season, guaranteed, because you could play with a Partey, or you could play with a Rice, you could play with White, or you could play with Timber, you could play with Smith Rowe, or you could play with a Havertz in that 8 role. And maybe it's just a little bit more unpredictable. Teams are going to come to Arsenal, or going to be preparing to play Arsenal, and they're not quite going to know what to expect. And yeah, I think that's a exciting little addition to what we're going to see here under Arteta. And Jurien Timber is, of course, getting the number 12 shirt, which was worn by William Saliba. Saliba, of course, now Arsenal's number 2. And yeah, really excited, really happy. You probably tell my voice at the moment that I'm just happy at the work that Arsenal have done. It's been a really good start to the window, getting 3 players in this early, spending this amount of money. It's a really big statement of intent from Arsenal. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what they're going to bring to the squad. Of course, now I think the focus, as I've said before, is going to switch to getting some players out. That needs to happen. I don't think it's the end of Arsenal's incomings. I think, I wouldn't say for certain, like last year when Zinchenko arrived at around this time, that was it. They didn't do any more business. I wouldn't say that's definitely going to be the case this season. I think the priority is now going to switch to moving players on. But the later on we get in the transfer window, it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal dip back in and potentially add a little bit more to their squad. Okay, let's bring in some of your questions now, shall we? And comments before we wrap this one up. Here's one from Miroslav, I think it is. It says, Charles, given Arsenal need to sell this window, if we accept that Balogun's sale is a given, which pair would you rather offload, Balogun and Partey or Balogun and Tierney? I understand the point of view not to lose Xhaka and Partey, but I feel Nenny staying could coach the replacement of Partey, whoever that is. Plus, Tierney is a keeper for me and could sign a new contract if he has a good season. What are your thoughts? No, I think if I had to lose 2 of those, if we're saying Balogun sale is a given, which I don't think it necessarily is, I wouldn't, I think it probably will happen, but I wouldn't say it's an absolute given at this point. We'll have to wait and see. But if there was just sort of 2 of those, I would say Balogun and Tierney for me. I really want to keep Partey. I think if you got Partey and Rice in the same squad, I think you're in a really strong position there in terms of who you potentially want to play as a 6. You can change things up. You can rest Partey if needs be. You can play Rice and Partey together as well. I think if you're going into a really big game, say Manchester City away, and you can play Partey as a number 6 and you can have Rice as a number 8 ahead of him, I think that gives you real protection, real strength in that midfield. And that's a great option to have if you just, if you don't at home in a more attacking team, you can have obviously just Rice playing there, potentially Partey on the bench. You can have Havertz and Odegaard as the 8, whatever. But I think just keeping Partey gives you so many different options. And so if I had to choose one to keep out of him and Tierney, it'd probably be Partey and move Tierney on. But, I'm a big fan of Tierney as well, and I would have no issues with him staying. So thank you very much for your question there. Very formal here, Mr. Watts from Miss 11235. So I think we are seeing that Arteta is acquiring as many flexible defenders, DMs as possible, so that we can have enough options to rotate, change tactics, cover injuries more smoothly. If we get the back line feeling less like, this obviously best 4 or 5 must stay fit, and be more like City's, as long as my army of defenders trains hard and follows directions, anyone can slot in without missing a beat. Do you feel that this is a vision? I do. Yeah, I agree. I think, and that needs to be the vision. I don't think it's just a case of it. It is the vision. I think it has to be the vision. I think that's what let Arsenal down last season, is that there just wasn't enough strength there. If you did have players out, you couldn't bring players in. I think it was a little bit too predictable, because you knew during that second half of the season what the starting 11 was going to be if everyone was fit. And I think they need to move away from that. You need to have that unpredictability in your choices that you have. You need to be confident in being able to rotate a player, leave a player out, that the dip in level is not going to be massive. And that's what City have. It's what Arsenal don't have. And that's what Arsenal are trying to build. That's why I've always spoken about this summer. It's not just about the starting 11. It's about the 15, 16, 17, 18 even in the squad, and having that level of players. That's why I don't want Partey to go, for example, because I want to be able to rotate between Partey and Rice and there not being a drop off in levels. And I think that's really, really important. And I think it's the same with the defence. Now, Timber's in. I think you're very, very confident whoever you play as a right-sided player, Timber or Ben White. And also that gives you the option, if you're not going to play Saliba, you can play Timber as a right-sided centre-back. It's where he's played the most. You can play him there and be confident you still got a quality player, or you can move Ben White to play there and have Timber as a right-back. And you've still got Tomiyasu and players like that as full-back options. So I think that's really, really important. So thanks very much for your question there. Here's one from Dwayne. Says, it's still so early, but I've got to say Vieira was so disappointing. Doesn't look like he's put on a pound, afraid of any physical contact, not willing to take any risks in the final third. The guy probably couldn't find Haaland in the box. He desperately needs a loan this season. So this is obviously in response to Vieira's performance in the game against Nuremberg. And I've got to disagree with this a little bit. I actually thought Vieira played all right in that game against Nuremberg. I thought he was quite bright in that first half. I thought he linked up pretty well with Saka and White on that right-hand side. I think he showed a few nice touches. There was one incident in the second half where he could have been a little bit braver, I thought, when he got into the box and should have got his shot away, but instead he just decided to pass. And I can't remember who he passed to. It was Cedric, wasn't it? He set up this chance for Cedric, who put the shot wide. But I thought Vieira probably should have gone himself because he got himself into a good position. Whether that's a little confidence thing, I don't know. But I thought in that game he played all right, Vieira. I thought he was quite bright, and I thought Arsenal were poorer when he went off. When you say he hasn't put on a pound, yeah, I agree, but I don't think he's going to be. I just don't think he's got the body capability of really muscling up too much. I think he's just one of those players that is a very slight frame. I don't think that necessarily means he can't hack it in the Premier League. I think back to Alex Hleb, for example. He was always very, very skinny. He was never a big built player. And look what he did at Arsenal when he went on to get his dream, a move to Barcelona, albeit it didn't work out, but he still got a move to Barcelona because of what he did in the Premier League. And it took him a while to adjust to it, Hleb, but he turned into a fantastic player. So I'm not ready to write Vieira off yet. And I don't think he's going to go on loan this season. I think he'll stick around and will be given minutes and chances to impress. I don't think Arsenal are ready to sort of write Fabio Vieira off yet. Here's one from Press97 says, can we move for Diaby? I don't know what we were waiting for. We need proper competition for Saka. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Aston Villa are bidding for Moussa Diaby at the moment. Leverkusen, that they haven't successfully bid. It's been rejected so far. It looks like they're going to go back in for him. I think there's been links with clubs in Saudi as well for him. Whether that's something he'd consider, I don't know. I imagine there'd be a lot of money on the table if he did. He's a player that Arsenal like and have watched and have monitored, but they've never actually made a move yet for him. I don't know if they will, so I can't really say, but I'd love it to happen. I think he's the type of player that Arsenal need to provide cover and competition for Saka on that right-hand side. But as I've said, I just think for now, with these big additions that they've made, the focus now is going to switch to moving players on, trying to get some money in. Once they do that, then I think they might reassess things a little bit and look at what else they need to do in the squad ahead of the end of the transfer window. Whether that means it will be too late for Diaby, it potentially looks like it might be now because Villa are really, really pushing. But, you can't have it all. You can't do everything you want in a single window. Arsenal have done a lot in the window. They've spent some big money. They've made some statement signings. And sometimes that means that other players slip through the net. And at the moment, they haven't made any firm move for Diaby. So we'll have to wait and see what happens on that one. All right, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, for listening. Everyone, appreciate it. As always, have a very good weekend wherever you're watching and listening around the world. Hopefully, by the time you are doing so, Declan Rice has been announced as an Arsenal player. But if he hasn't, then it's going to happen very, very soon. So be excited, everyone. Have a very good day. I'll speak to you soon.